Hello everyone, this is Ben Ryder from the Academy of Gaming, Film and Animation, and what we're looking at today now is how we can use IK constraints to be able to help us when we're animating. So constraints sit above the actual bone sort of parented structure there, and they just help to influence where the bones actually move. So they won't necessarily act as drivers, and they won't necessarily export out as an FBX into Unreal, but they will help you while you're animating these keyframes inside of Maya to make sure that you're getting a sort of natural, sort of flowing animation. And it just helps out just to have those sorts of things so that if you are already sort of animating things here and you have them up there, it just adds to that level of control that you have as an animator so that you can create that sort of squash and stretch with relative ease. But anyway, that was just a quick sort of demonstration of the technical sort of aspects of that. Let's talk a little bit about how it is we'll move it. So, for example, we can't just simply move this. The bone itself has not got, as in not inherited it. It is coming from over the top, so you need to select that IK handle. If you want to get rid of it because for whatever reason it's not working or you need to change it, you can just select it here in the outliner and then just press delete. And so what that does is it just frees this up here a little bit. There's also another IK handle there that's probably left over, but as you can see, it's still got this sort of color here. Now those should disappear, but if they don't, you can just go here by delete by type and constraints and just get rid of that extra history there. So something you can consider when you are doing these sorts of animations is that they help, but they're not necessary. You can just animate this old school style and move it up like so, and have this come back down here without any issues. You don't need to have an IK rig. It's not essential. It just sort of makes things a bit easier for when you're animating. That's all. It just sort of helps you out as the animator to try and get a more natural flowing animation there. So it does help when you're animating, but it's not necessary. So if you can't get it working for whatever reason, don't stress, because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters the most is the bones, the mesh, and the keyframes down here. Everything else is really just to help you in Maya. It's not going to make any difference once you get it into Unreal necessarily. There are some exceptions to that, especially if you're trying to do dynamic IKs. It's good to have those IK rigs already set up in place there. But that is probably more complicated than we'd be expecting you to learn at stage 1. So that's all you need to know about there. I will now go through how it is you can actually push that IK in there. So you need to go up here to rigging. You need to go here to create IK handle. And with that selected, we want to select first the thing that is going to be driving the animation, and then where we want it to connect to. So if this would be the wrist or the foot, and this would be the hip or the shoulder. So you select the wrist or foot first, and then you select the shoulder, and it creates this line here. We have this IK handle. If I click here on this now, I should be able to move this up and down. Now it's basically guessed that this is where I want my IK handle to be. The best way you can do that is by making sure you have a bend there. So if you're rigging up a character, make sure you bend their elbow slightly and bend their knee slightly. It will help Maya to orient the pole vector correctly. However, there are two different types. When you go here and you have this selected, if you double click on here, you'll see that there's single chain solver, which is probably one of the more easier ones to use because it just goes almost in a two-dimensional. So if you're looking at this as a side scroller, it matters. However, if you're doing a 3D character and you're looking at a third person sort of character, then you might want to also consider this other one here, which is a rotate plane solver, because what it does is it gives you this extra sort of solver here just to be able to see where the joint is actually pointing so that you can actually sort of keep an eye on that as well. So it is something to consider having there as well. They both generally do the same job, but one just has a few more options for you to work around with. So I would highly recommend this if you're looking at a character. But that's all I wanted to look at here, is how to do this, how it works, just so that you can make a decision for when you're doing your animated asset for your environment and how you might rig it up, and whether Inverse Kinematics can help you take that sort of animation to the next level.